Hello and welcome to Homeschooling on a Budget. This is part 3, which is using and building community to help you homeschool inexpensively. Sorry. So the 5 ideas that I have here are, first of all, small co-ops, and then extended family, friends, and acquaintances, volunteer work, museums, and free online courses. The first one, small co-ops, is something that I've used a lot over the years, and especially as my children got older, it seemed like a lot of co-ops, the ones I knew at least, didn't have a lot that was geared towards more high school age children. And so I would get together with they really can be as small as 2 families. I usually got together with more like 3 or 4. One advantage to a co-op this small is that you don't have to look for any kind of special location to meet, because you can meet in houses. And so what we would usually do is decide on certain classes that we wanted to take, and sometimes they would even be on more than one day, so they're a little bit different than other co-ops. But you know, I had one family who the father who was homeschooling had been a physical science teacher in schools, and so he taught physical science to about 4 or 5 just different children from 3 or 4 families over at his house one day a week. And then his wife at the same time actually taught geography in her kitchen to some of the younger kids at the same time. And I've done a lot of these. One that I've done a couple of different years is picked a science curriculum with some other families, and then we bought some kits for science labs together. And it was a lot less expensive than if I would have bought science labs just to do with my own family. So we pooled resources together, and then we would get together to do the science labs one day a week. I'm actually currently doing that one with just 3 boys who are 9th graders, physics labs. And we've actually found a lot of labs where you can do demonstrations online. And so you don't have to buy a lot of supplies for it. And yet they simulate a lot of different physics situations and scenarios. And that's been a lot of fun to do that, and not very expensive. And another thing about small co-ops is you can use the expertise of the different parents, that each parent could teach a class in something that is more their area of expertise, just on a really small scale. Another thing I've done with small co-ops is plays or performances. And that's something that I really can't do with just my family at all. But sometimes, even if you just get, 4 or 5 families together, they can put together a play. And most of the time we've found local churches that are willing to let us do the actual performance at the church for free. But rehearsals have usually been at my house, because I like to direct plays, and I've directed about 7 or 8 at this point. And then if it seems too hard to do a performance or find a place for a performance, one year we actually just did a reader's theater, where we did The Hobbit, and we just recorded it. And so they had an audio recording of a performance they did. But I've done a wide variety of plays and involved children, from as young as like 10 or 11 up to 18. And it's worked really well on a small level that way. And book clubs or geography clubs or those kinds of things are another thing you can do in small co-ops really easily. And in these ones, you only have to meet, once a month or however you want to, but just decide on a book to read and meet at one of the family's houses each month and do some book discussion and some projects. Or when we did a geography club before, each family would do a different country every month, and they would maybe bring a food from that country and then do a little presentation about that country. So that can be a really inexpensive and easy way to expand your children's social circle, and also have them be able to learn from other people and gain from other people's expertise. The second way, extended family, friends, and acquaintances, is also another way to help get more expertise from other people, because we all know that none of us are experts at everything. And so we can use people that are already in our circle to help in our children's education. Some of the ways that I've done that over the years is, I know there was a woman at my church who really liked to teach sewing. And so she actually taught my kids sewing, and she came over one day a week, and she really wanted more social outlets in her life. And so she enjoyed being able to come over and teach them sewing and talk to them and talk to me, and was actually willing to do that for free. As far as extended family goes, I've done a lot of different things with extended family. My mom is a career Spanish teacher and really enjoys teaching Spanish. So she has taught my kids Spanish. She lives in Texas and, you know, I live in Washington, but she has taught my children Spanish over the internet. I think they use Zoom now. You know, everybody uses Zoom now, but years ago they started with Skype, and she's been doing that for probably at least 10 years now through different of my children, because I have 6 children. So, you know, she's still teaching the 2 youngest Spanish, but my 4 oldest children have all graduated from high school now. And that's been a great way to bring my mom in. She's been more involved in their lives, and they've been able to learn from her better than they could learn Spanish from me. And so I think that, I was going to say other ways of extended family. I'm sorry, I lost myself for a second. Other ways is that my sisters both homeschool, and as I mentioned before, they live in Arkansas and North Carolina, and we've done different things with our children that are the same age as before, like book clubs, where they've gotten together, again, on Skype to talk about them. Or last year, we studied all about different things around Chicago, and we were actually going to go on a trip to Chicago. But then COVID happened, so that never happened. And so it ended up being really cheap because we didn't even take a trip at the end. But they learned a lot about Chicago and the history of Chicago and things that you could go see in Chicago at the Art Institute of Chicago and things like that. So that was really neat. And then volunteer work, I think, is another great way to help in your homeschooling, to bring your circle out more. It can develop social skills, and children can use what they've learned. My son, Jack, his senior year of high school, he volunteered for a group called Music Men's Minds, where they got together and played and sang music. And he actually ended up being the keyboardist for the group, where they played and sang songs for a group of people with Alzheimer's or dementia, and was able to go into that community. And so he was able to use what he learned and help other people with it. And there's lots of opportunities for volunteer work in lots of different ways. And, you know, they can volunteer at zoos or museums and just community centers. Getting the whole family involved in volunteer work can expand their learning and expand their circle and develop their social skills too. And then museums, many museums have free days, usually once a month or so, and you can check out passes, and you can structure sections of your curriculum around museum exhibits. I've done that with art museums before. If they have an exhibit coming in that's kind of neat, we'll study those artists or that era in art history, and that's been our art appreciation for a while. There are local history museums that can expand on what you learn in Washington State history. And museums, as long as you're looking for the free days or checking out passes at the library, they're completely free. And then one thing I forgot to include that goes along a little bit with museums, but is also just performing arts in your area. A lot of times you can find expensive ways to attend plays or other theater. They have pay what you can days at most theaters that if you look for them, you can get tickets more inexpensively. Or also, if you have teenagers in the Seattle area, there's a program called Teen Tix, where they can attend a lot of different theaters, orchestras, Seattle Opera for only $5 a ticket, as long as they're teenagers. And then free online courses is another thing that I've used at different times. Khan Academy is a really well-known one, and that's one where you could actually get your math curriculum for free. One of my son's friends, that's what she's been doing for math this year. And Hillsdale College offers several free online courses for more of a high school age, but on the topics of government, history, and literature. A lot of museums have virtual, where you can look through the museum online virtually and see different exhibits and things that they have at the museum. The Gilder Lehrman Institute of American History also has some free online courses, and I signed my daughter up for one last year that was on Hamilton, that studied the real history of Hamilton based on the, you know, the popularity of the musical. And there's also lots of art tutorials on YouTube that my daughter has used to teach her drawing or watercolor or different things like that. So that is another way to build community and see what's in your community, in this case, your online community, to help in homeschooling. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.